What's up, everyone? Welcome back to another review. This time, we're going to be checking out an obscure horror film known as The Evictors, directed by Charles P. Pierce, starring Michael Parks, Vic Morrow, and Jessica Harper. Now, The Evictors is a straightforward movie. It's this couple moves into a house that has a history of murder, and they are constantly being stalked by this mysterious lurker. And that's the basic premise of this movie. There's really nothing to this movie in terms of its storyline. It's pretty straightforward. It's pretty basic. This review is not going to be very long. This is going to be my general thoughts on a movie that I've really never heard of and never seen. So let's get this going. From a production standpoint, Charles P. Pierce, I thought he did an adequate job with this movie. Of course, Pierce had done The Town That Dreaded Sundown, and this was his. And this was the next movie, and this was also directed by him as well. Visually, this movie looks fine. I think his direction is very good. This movie has a good atmosphere to it. It's very slow paced, and there are moments and there are times where it drags a lot, and it can get really tiresome to watch because it just moves really slow. And if it wasn't for the actors in this movie would be completely unwatchable, at least to me, because the action doesn't really kick in until like the last half of the movie. I mean, you have stuff peppered in all throughout, particularly with this mysterious lurker stalking the character of Ruth, played by Jessica Harper. But other than that, it's kind of slow burn, but it's painful slow burn. It's like boring slow burn, not interesting slow burn, because the story is very cookie cutter, and the characters themselves are so thinly written. They're not really all that much to get into. And like I say, it's the actors that really hold this thing together. Michael Parks plays the husband, Ben, and it's Michael Parks, so it's Michael Parks. Any movie with Michael Parks will have some watchability to it because Michael Parks is awesome, and I like him in the movie. You know, his character is very simple, city boy, trying to move into a rural house with his wife. So there's nothing to his character at all. Same thing with Jessica Harper, who plays the character of Ruth. No, there's nothing to these people. They're just innocents. They're just innocent people being harassed in this house called the Monroe House, which has a history of murder, like I said, and they're constantly being stalked pretty much. And that's pretty much all to that. So yeah, from a casting standpoint, the actors do okay for what they're given. Like I said, there's nothing really to this movie from a story and character standpoint. It's just a B movie experience, and that's what it is. It's a decently made. It's a solidly made B horror movie. It's not gonna rock your socks off. You'll get a couple of shocks here. You get a couple of chills and jumps here and there, but nothing really overwhelming. You know, the best scenes in this movie is when the lurker is stalking the character of Ruth all throughout the house, particularly near the end of the movie. That stuff is fine, and his scenes peppered throughout the movie is fine too. This movie also goes back and forth between, some good sepia tone black and white scenes, which cover the past and the history of the Monroe House and what happened to that family after getting into a gunfight, pretty much. And it rotates to present day 1942, 42, I believe. So yeah, all that stuff is fine. Like yeah, this movie has a 1942 aesthetic. You look from production standpoint, it looks fine. It looks period, looks good for me. Uh, and the twist of this movie is kind of mildly entertaining as well. We find out that Vic Morrow, who is a friend to the character who is like a real estate agent, pretty much, he's the one who is selling this Monroe House, and he's the one that pretty much sends people to their demise. He's kind of working with that. It's very flimsy and shit like that, but whatever. So yeah, overall, those are my really lazy thoughts on the Evictors. Like I said, nothing really to this movie, nothing really much for it. It's very basic. It's entertaining. You can watch it once, and you're pretty much going to forget about it. Hell, I'm struggling to remember half of it because it barely kept my attention. So I'm going to give the Evictors a solid 4 out of 10. That 4 is for the cast and for the direction. The story is basic by the bones. You get some entertainment factor out of it, but since this movie moves at a snail's pace in a lot of areas, it can be a slug to get through till you get to the last half hour, which is where the movie actually picks up some steam. It's actually very entertaining. But everything else is just unnecessary fluff. And that's it. Those are my thoughts on The Evictors. A solid 4 out of 10. Do I recommend it? Even though I gave it a low grade, watch it once and you'll never have to watch it again. just watch it. Just if you never seen it before, I say give it a watch. Just to say that you seen a movie that you never heard of before by a director who did a much better movie, being The Town That Dreaded Sundown. So yeah, that's it. That's all I got to say. Like this video and subscribe, and I'll check you back next time for more.